Hey everybody, it's Kim. I wanted to share some thoughts on what I'm experiencing and what I know a lot of hairstylists or people in the service industry is feeling right now, and just give you a pat on the back and let you know that you're not alone. Do you remember being a kid and laying in bed at night and you hear some kind of weird noise and you want to get up and see what it is because logically you know that it's probably nothing, but at the same time you become paralyzed with fear and literally cannot move? I know that happened to me several times as a child, and I don't know what that phenomenon is, but you literally just become paralyzed and can't move. And that's kind of like what I'm feeling right now, except it's a feeling, it's an emotional paralysis. Um, like I feel like I'm just wasting time instead of being productive and doing things that I should be doing and that I have time to be doing, but I'm just like emotionally paralyzed. And so I want to share a few thoughts with you because I need them myself, and maybe we can help each other through this time. So I had made myself some notes, and so if I look over, I just don't want to forget some of the things that I want to share. Um, so over the last couple of days, I've just seen, educators and different industry leaders grabbing a mannequin and doing haircuts online and business classes and all these things. And last night I was just feeling like a little bit of a failure. Like, why don't I have the emotional strength to do that right now? And I'm not a self-proclaimed leader in my industry, but I know I am to at least some people, and I feel like I'm failing them because I'm not producing anything right now. And so last night before bed, I was just really feeling that and feeling inadequate, but truly emotionally paralyzed with this. And reading in groups and everything, I know a lot of people are feeling that way too. And if that's you, then I just want to share a story. When I was 21, I had a medical issue and ended up needing a biopsy. And while I was waiting for the test results was, I think, the most fear I have felt. It was crippling, the fear, waiting for the test results. And some things that I did during that time was I isolated, for sure. Anytime I have something I'm really, really struggling with emotionally, I'll isolate myself. There's a lot to that, but I think a lot of people handle fear differently. And that's just how I do it, and probably a lot of people do. And it was like I was in a brain fog. Like I couldn't think straight. I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't get things done. I didn't want to be out in public. I was scared I would just break down and cry at any moment. And it wasn't until I got my test results, which were fine, that I could breathe again. It felt like I could breathe again. But during that time, before I got my test results, there was a lady who was like an authority figure in my life. And she said some things to me to try to snap me out of it. It was probably done in love. But, just saying stuff like, well, I didn't have enough faith, and pretty much downplaying what I was feeling, and that I shouldn't be feeling that way. That I should go on with life, and whatever's going to come just is going to come, and, have more faith and that kind of thing. So I left there, instead of feeling inspired, I felt even lower, because I felt like I didn't have enough emotional strength to be stronger, that I should be stronger, that I should just carry on with life. And now I'm afraid of cancer, and I'm weak and pitiful, So it was really a bad time, and I went home and I just said, okay, well, maybe I am weak and I need more faith or something. And I went and got my Bible, and I read where Jesus went to the Garden of Gethsemane before he was to be crucified. And when he went in the garden, what I read, and it's the first time I'd ever really seen it with these eyes in that moment, was the very first thing he did was he went with his disciples, but then he told them to stay there, that he was going to go alone and pray. And he told them that his soul was so grieved, almost to the point of death. He was experienced the most extreme grief he had ever felt. And so he had to do it alone. He had to go be alone. And then it says he fell on his face and begged God. He said, God, take this cup from me. In other words, he was saying, I don't want to walk this. I don't want to do this. Please take this from me. I don't want to do it. It's too much, And then it goes on to say, and I think this is in Luke, where it says that he was sweating so profusely that it was like dripping off of him, like blood would be dripping. And then it says that an angel had to come and strengthen him. And all of that let me know that my emotions that I was feeling, everything that I was going through in that moment, that Jesus felt them too. And I wasn't weak, and I wasn't pitiful, because I was hurting and because I was scared. And there's a lot of fear right now in my industry that I love. And so I just read it and I see it and I feel it for you and with you. And just know that you're not alone and you're not weak for feeling it. If you see other people being productive during this time, I think we'll all get there. I think we will. But if you need a grace period to feel what you feel, to be afraid, whatever it is you're feeling, don't let where somebody else is emotionally make you feel less than, or add to and compound what you're feeling. It's very human to feel that fear when we're facing a tragedy, or when we're facing uncertainty, when we're facing bankruptcy, whatever it is you're fearing right now financially. This is specifically what I'm talking about. Don't heap even more on yourself. Give yourself grace. And I looked up what grace means. Let's see, I wrote down the definition. A polite and thoughtful way of behaving. Another definition is to impart strength to endure a trial. So if our child was hurting, you know, over something that happened in their life or something they were fearing or whatever, we wouldn't say, hey, buck up. You know, we would sit with them, or at least I would, and just be with them and listen. And, you know, they'd probably lay their head in my lap and I'd rub their hair and I'd be there to just love them through that time. And we need to be able to do that for ourselves. So if you're hurting and you're fearful, give yourself that same polite and thoughtful behavior that you would give someone else. And there's a phrase or whatever it's called, grace period. It's okay to take some time to deal with this and process it all. And I'm giving myself that same grace because I watch other people out there being really productive, putting out videos, doing all this stuff, and I'm like, God, why aren't I able to do that right now, and feeling less than? But it's okay because I can give myself a grace period. And however long that is. And if throughout this whole thing, if it takes this whole time and I don't become as productive as others, who says that I have to? You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't always have to be the one giving. Sometimes others need to be able to give too. And sometimes we need to receive. So maybe during this time, it's just a time for you to rest and receive, So that's one thing that I wanted to talk about, like to just don't heap anything else on yourself, okay? And then I want to talk about what the fear is, and let's talk about that elephant in the room. So if your fear is that you're going to not be able to feed your kids, or that you're going to lose your home, those are the basic fears I think most people are feeling. So let's talk about them, because I have been through a bankruptcy and I have lost everything, and it is not fun. It's horrifying, and it's something that could absolutely happen. So let's talk about it. Even though I still remember the feelings during that time, and I don't ever want to go back there again, but I might. We all might. There's a lot of us that might be. So let's talk about it. Because if fear is what's keeping us paralyzed emotionally, and we can address that fear and really look at it and think about, okay, worst case scenario. If you watch This Is Us, they do that game like best case, worst case. So worst case scenario, what would happen? That you had to file bankruptcy, okay? Or that you didn't have money to buy food. Right now, because of everything that's going on all over the world, there are, agencies and everything stepping up, like United Way, Salvation Army, different local church organizations, different community organizations, people, food banks are stepping up. You do not have to worry about being able to feed your kids. Period. You're going to get the help you need. Next thing, losing your home. I just read an article on NPR about the banks being asked to give a 12-month grace period for those that are struggling or have lost their income because of the coronavirus. There's going to be so many things put into place because nobody can control this. None of this is your fault. And so things are going to be put into place to keep people from losing their homes. Let me tell you, after 2008, when the banks were sitting there with all those empty homes because people couldn't pay their mortgages, they don't want to be sitting there with all those empty houses. The banks don't want that to happen again, you know. There's going to be safeguards put into place. And we used to be hunters and gatherers. Good Lord. If it came down to it where the whole economy collapsed, we can grow food. And if you don't know how to grow food, like I don't, and, you know, I don't know how to grow pizza or tacos. So, but there's people that do. And, I mean, worst case scenario, we could start growing food. I'll do your hair. You bring me some food. I mean, as long as we're alive, we're going to be okay. So I just wanted to encourage you to hang in there. And at the end of the day, we're going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. I don't know when, I don't know how long. But for now, if you need to be fearful and process all of that fear and give yourself some grace to do that. And so, anyway, that's my thoughts, and that just wanted to share.